Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining me. On this episode of Jupiter and Saturn New Moons 2020, we're going to look at Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson has been a film star for his entire adult career. And now, in 2020, he releases a film called Fatman. Mel never knew I was going to write this review, and I never knew that I was going to see his flick. But the fact of the matter is, I've been studying Santa Claus. I've been studying um, actors and actresses and events for all my life in the way of cosmology. And now we're going to look at Mel Gibson portraying Santa Claus and why he decided to do so. Santa Claus is a very interesting individual to come across because when you look at the individual who does this, who plays Santa Claus, his name is Cringle. And I always like to recognize Chris Kringle as a representative of Christ, because if you put a T right here at the end, it's Christ. And what does Christ do? Christ does things like provides fishes and bread to the hungry and the masses. This is what he does. He's a miracle worker. And this is what Chris Kringle is. He's a miracle worker. He's able to he's able to peer into children's lives and to see who's naughty and nice with his material eye. And this is but at the same time, he has his downfalls. Like Christ had his enemies that he created for his righteousness that he tried to perform, and Santa Claus or Chris Kringle has his enemies for the righteousness that he tries to perform and the joy of giving. But Fatman, let's look at Fatman. Who is Fatman? Well, Fatman would be the Star of Bethlehem, because it would be the Fatman would be the Star of Bethlehem, and for the reason why is because Jupiter and Saturn together are the two largest planets, excluding the Sun, in the solar system. And when they come together in a conjunction, they create a mega star to be observed. But also, we have to look at Mel Gibson's chart, because Mel Gibson never knew that, and I never knew that I would look at his chart and ask, why did he play Chris Kringle, the Santa Claus of the modern time? Now let's take a look here. First off, Christmas happens on the 25th of December, and that is ruled by Cancer, or not Cancer, but that is ruled by Capricorn, which opposes Cancer. Now let's look at the whole entire action of Christmas. Let's look at the job that Santa Claus do, because Capricorn is all about the job. This is the career. This is what Capricorn is all about, and that's why I've looked at Demi's chart, and I'm looking at Mel's chart, because when you're in the film industry, which is the fifth house, which he has Saturn and both Mars in the fifth house, it's all about the job, because filmmaking is everything. It takes every single breath of your life to make every single film. And why would someone do a film about Santa Claus? Now let's look at Mel Gibson as a Capricorn. We all know that Christmas falls in the first few days of Capricorn. The sun has just returned, okay? Because Christmas is a borrowed holiday from an ancient sun solstice holiday of sun worshippers that would welcome back the sun. Okay, this is the time of year that we're looking at here. So the sun is on his return, and he's bringing the new gifts for the new year. Okay, now to make the gifts, to collect the gifts, to transfer the gifts, this is all happening during the time of Sagittarius, when the sun is moving through Sagittarius. Now, when you deliver the gifts are underneath the tree. Now we're in this Capricorn, okay? The gifts have to be unwrapped, which is work. And there's work involved with wrapping the gifts. There's work involved with building the gifts and transporting the gifts. These are all Capricorn, okay? There's much structure, there's organization, but the logistics to get the gifts where they have to go, this is Jupiter, okay? And Mercury. But the distance the gifts have to travel, this is the Jupiter part of Christmas. Because all the work that goes into Christmas happens 30 days before Christmas. And then the gifts are sitting underneath the tree. They have to be unwrapped. And what comes after them being wrapped? It's the work that's involved in taking care of the gift. This is Christmas. Now, Santa Claus, he comes into the home. And what is waiting for him? Cookies and milk. Okay? First off, we have Cancer. Cancer is in reference to the home front. Okay? Cancer rules the home, it rules the kitchen, it rules where the cookies come from. Milk is a fluid. Okay? Here is the trade-off. All of us are in the earth trade. And when we're looking at Santa Claus and Mel Gibson playing Santa Claus, he's a good choice. Okay? This is the review I have to give because this is what the planets say. This is his ascendant. His ascendant is Cancer. There have been some astrologers that have said that Christ himself was a Cancer ascendant. Okay? It's everything I talk about can be found online. But now, when we're looking at the release of the chart or the release of the movie, we have to look at where Jupiter and Saturn are and where the conjunction will be in just a few days. Jupiter and Saturn are opposed Mel Gibson's Uranus. And Uranus is the electricity and the internet and the television that brings Mel Gibson to us to deliver his story about the modern Christ that we refer to as Santa Claus. Excuse me. It's a very interesting time because when we look at this and we come back to this Jupiter and Saturn return, we have to look where it is. Jupiter and Saturn conjunction. It will happen in Aquarius on December 21st, which is the very first day of winter. It's the solstice. It's the return of the sun. This is what December 21st is. And on the return of the sun, we have a Star of Bethlehem, folks. And the Father above has given me these charts to look at, to observe the heavens, and to understand these are not just beings of light that make our heavens look nice in the night. We have to look at the reason why when we look at his chart and we see here's Jupiter and Saturn in the 7th house. The 7th house is the natal house, natural house of Jupiter. The first house is ruled by Aries, okay? Second house is Taurus. Third house is Gemini. Fourth house is Cancer. Fifth house is Leo. Sixth house is Virgo. Seventh house is Libra. It's a partnership house. It's a Saturn house. This is what we cannot forget about this. Okay, and here we have Capricorn, which is a Saturn, having a Saturn rulership. And then we have Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn, which is the sign that rules Santa Claus. It's a very interesting chart to look at when you move to the next chart and you see that these planets right here, when you look at them, they will oppose his natal Uranus. And then they will, when you go back, you see 0 degrees Libra. When you go 0 degrees Libra and you see Mel Gibson's chart, 0 degrees Scorpio is his moon. 0 degrees Neptune is where 0 degrees Neptune is which is sitting in the cusp of Scorpio, right? It's 0 degrees Scorpio, and that's where the planet Neptune is sitting there. And then we have the moon there, 0 degrees Libra. You see, the moon is normally a water sign, right? That's where it's home. And it's moving into Libra, which is an air and earth a sign that's ruled by Venus and Saturn, right? In the 4th house of Cancer, right? This is amazing. And the thing is, when Jupiter and Saturn are there sitting, they're sitting in his 7th house. When they're in this transit, when this conjunction happens, they're sitting in his 7th house. And if you look at it, it's going to be 4 degrees his Chiron. And what is Chiron? The wounded healer. And here we have Santa Claus being shot at, someone trying to kill him. All this is happening. And this is basically our modern messenger of hope, which is Santa Claus. Because when we get new gifts, we are more hopeful about life. But Saturn says you have to take care of the gifts. And this has been an amazing 2 episodes of studying the Star of Bethlehem in these lives that color so many of ours through drama and through the care of preserving art that warms our heart. Thank you very much, folks. I appreciate your patience, and I hope that you've learned more about Jupiter and Saturn and how they can influence your life and how they help your own time by giving you obstacles to overcome to provide a hopeful world to share with others. All the best, and over and out.